What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Something's Wrong. This is a Backco Media production, and I am Erin, your host for this evening. We have a really special show lined up for you tonight. My friend Matt is joining us in the studio. Matt, welcome. How are you doing tonight? I'm
good. Thanks so much for having me on here.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and, chat with us a little bit. So we're going to kind of talk about an array of different things tonight. But do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself just to get started?
Yeah, so my name's Matt. I'm 20. I'm a student at the University of North Georgia. I love sports, all kinds of sports. Just really typical, 20-year-old kid. Big reason I'm on here is because I lost both of my parents by the time I was before I was out of high school. So that's the main reason I'm on here tonight. We'll be talking a lot more about that. But that's really it. I am 20 with no parents. I have a brother and a sister, but just really on here to talk about that tonight.
Yeah. So from 2011 until about 2017, that was really when you went through the most significant amount of loss that you had. How did you were so young and you had so much going on in your life. How did you manage to cope with everything that was being thrown your way?
Yes, honestly, my whole youth kind of, I feel like I'm honestly from the day I was born, I feel like I kind of dealt with it just because the fact that I never met my mom's parents. So that side of grandparents I never even had. So I just kind of feel like from day one, it was just kind of always in the back of my mind sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Most kids talk about no, my mom's parents or my dad's parents. And I'm like, well, I only have one set of grandparents. And so really from day one, it was just kind of I felt that. And then, like you said, starting in 2011, I really can't even pinpoint all the dates in those years because, like I said, I was 11 at that time. I lost grandma, grandpa. So the two grandparents I did have, I lost them. I lost an aunt. I lost an uncle. So it's just right around there, 2011, 2012 was a lot of loss when I was only 11. And the aunt and uncle, it always hurts to lose anybody. But when it's kind of a distant relative like that you're not with, very often, it's not earth shattering. Of course it's sad. My mom, she lost a sister. So it was really tough to be around. But it really hit me November 2015 when my childhood best friend passed away out of nowhere thanks to a brain tumor. And that's really my first experience of directly losing someone close to me. And so that was really the first one that just completely rocked my world, if that makes sense. And then I had no idea that for the next 3 straight Novembers, starting with that one, it would just be back to back to back. So that November 27th of 2015, and then November 15th of 2016, my mom passed away after her long battle with COPD, emphysema. She was diagnosed in 1999, and I was born in 2000. So, for 17 years, she fought that literally my entire life. So I never knew her not being sick. My brother and sister, they'll still tell me, I wish you could have really got to experience what mom was like because, she was really, kind of always in the house, needing to relax, because she couldn't breathe that well. So it was just kind of my whole life. It was always me and my dad, going to games, Braves games, Georgia games, taking me to my baseball games. And so, again, obviously losing my mom was just completely horrible. It's the worst thing I had ever gone through yet. But, it was just kind of the way me and my dad explained it was as tough as it was. Our like day-to-day life didn't change that much just because of the fact that, you know, she was at home so much. Like, obviously not having her around was completely terrible, but just in terms of, you know, going to school, dad going to work, me going to baseball, like nothing really changed that much besides like the emotional side of things. Like it was obviously completely terrible. But then the next November, November 27th, 2017, 2 years to the day that my friend Sammy passed away, my dad lost his battle with cancer.
Wow.
So for the third straight November, 2 years to the day that Sammy passed away, my dad passes. And so now no parents, and my childhood best friend, you know, had passed away. But, you know, not having parents around that was my senior year of high school in November. So like I'm almost halfway done with senior year. I haven't had baseball season yet, prom, obviously graduation. Now all of a sudden, like I don't have my parents. So 3 straight Novembers when I'm 15, 16, 17 years old, I lose a best friend and then both of my parents in the span of 3 years, just like that. So I went from really not having ever dealt with like loss that close to me to dealing with that back to back to back.
I can't even wrap my head around that kind of loss, especially at such a young age. And, you know, I mean, you're 20 now?
Yeah, I'm 20 now.
Yeah, you're 20. And I mean, despite everything you've been through, all the grief that you've been through, you're an incredibly positive person. You're very optimistic. You're, you know, anytime I go through something, if I need somebody to talk to, you're always there to cheer me up. Where does that like inner strength come from?
I think it really just comes from like not really having another option, really, just in my mind, like in my head, because like I just kind of think of it as all that stuff happened regardless. So I mean, it's really my choice how I want to like respond. I guess like, you know, if I wanted to, you know, lay in bed all day and, you know, just let it just, you know, destroy me, they're gone regardless. Like that might sound bad because I mean it's awful, but either way they're gone. Like they passed away, they're not here.
Yeah.
So really, you know, do I want to let it destroy my everyday life, or do I want to, you know, live as normal as I possibly can, you know, while keeping it in my mind, but also using it as, you know, a motivation to stay positive. You know, like when dad passed away, I was only out of school for a week. And then the year before when mom passed away, it was right before Thanksgiving break, I believe. I don't know when Thanksgiving fell that year because, like, you know, it all ran together at that point. But just like I only wanted to stay out of school for like a few days, maybe a week. And, you know, just because like I wanted things to get back to normal as quick as I could, to like try to live as normal as a life as I could. Like when I got back to school, like I didn't want everyone talking to me about it, and, you know, teachers, because like, you know, they were so supportive, but at the same time, like I wanted to seem as normal as it could possibly be, even though it obviously wasn't normal for me. But like, you know, being at school, your parents wouldn't be there anyway. So like I feel like the school and the baseball field were the two places where like it did feel normal. So it was kind of a sense of like, that's really where I wanted to be, like as quickly as I could. So I think the positivity just really came from like when everything first happened, even with Sammy, my friend, like I said, that was really like the first loss I dealt with. Like I had a close group of friends who like I played with them in high school, and they also played, because like I played baseball with him when we were kids, like T-ball age. And then I have a group of friends that I played with in high school. They had also played with him growing up too. So like I was able to connect with them, like, hey, you know, we have to dedicate the season to him and, you know, work hard every day. Like for him, like, because he was about to start his freshman year of baseball in high school and he never got to experience that. And so we were just kind of like, you know, we need to do this for him. And so like from the start, losing him was just kind of like, you know, let's do this for him. And so when my parents passed, it turned into, well, now me personally, I have to do it for mom. The next year I have to do it for dad. And then now literally every day, like I think of those three in my head, like just constantly, like everything I do, like I want to do it for them, you know? So I think it just comes from, you know, having them in the back of my head and feeling like, you know, anything I do is for them and just trying to make them proud, really.
Yeah. I mean, that makes complete sense. And, you know, you spoke about how you just kind of wanted to get back to school and get going and start playing ball again and be around your friends to kind of have a sense of normalcy put back in your life. Through all of that, your friends, your siblings, did you notice any changes in your relationship with other people? Like, did any of your friends treat you differently with your parents? What was it like with your siblings? Did that impact your relationship at all?
So, I'll start with friends. My close friends, like my two like best friends, like obviously things change, just in terms of like, hey, can I bring y'all dinner? What can I do? That sort of thing. But just in like our, like friendship, our relationship, I pretty much let them know to keep it as normal as possible. Just because, like I said, like they're my best friends. I really wouldn't, want it to be much different. Like, like we're, 16, 17, 18 around there. So like, we're baseball players, like we're goofy, always messing with each other. And so like, I just kind of felt like if they were to like act differently, then it would have like, I don't know if it would have taken a toll on me, but it would have like had it in my mind, like constantly, well, there's a reason why they're acting differently, and I would have thought about why. And then, then passing away would have popped up. So like, I feel like, my two closest friends that I was with literally every day in class, on the field, and then, going to get dinner or whatever, like with them, I feel like I tried to keep like the same relationship as much as possible. Like I said, obviously they were supportive, but I feel like with them, I really tried to stay how I was and tried to let them stay how they were. With my siblings, I was already really close with my brother, just because, sports, video games, whatever, even though like both of my siblings are a good bit older than me, they have families and everything. But, like being brothers, like it's me, him, and our sisters. So like the two boys, like obviously we always bonded and stuff. And then my sister, she would bond with like our mom because they were the girls, and, it'd be really me, him, and our dad. But then it really started when mom passed away. I tried to get like a lot closer with my sister, just because like it showed me that one, like, she's my sister, like she's the only sister I had, and at that point only sister I'd ever have. So it was just kind of like, that woke me up and realized I needed to like have a better relationship with her. But then really when dad passed away, when my brother and sister really turned into more of like parent figures than siblings, for a little while. Like I was 17, so it's not like, I needed them to like care for me, but just like an emotional thing. Like I'm not even done with high school yet. So like they really turned into like parent figure sort of thing, And so really I feel like my relationship with me and my sister got a lot stronger when all that happened, which that, like I said, I try to stay positive about it. So that's one thing I'm really thankful for through all of it, is that like my sister and I got a lot closer after all of that happened. I mean, me and my brother did too. Like I live with my brother now. I still do. I had to move in with him when dad passed away because, I had no one to live with. My parents were gone. And so, obviously my relationship with him got stronger too. But I just feel like, I really honestly feel like I kind of started opening up more, even though like I still don't, like I'm not good about it at all. But just, like, I just feel like, cause it really showed me that like anything can happen on any day. Like, even though they were both sick, they all went downhill really quick with their health. And so like, it wasn't like a shock when they passed away because like we knew they were sick, but they both, like my dad over the span of about a month, it went downhill. And then my mom was like a week, like literally like a week. It went from, she was at home, and her health wasn't good, but she was at home normal, and then doctor, hospital, and then passed away like, within like a week. It's like really just realizing how downhill things could go made me like be more appreciative of the relationships that I had, if that makes sense.
It makes you, appreciate everybody as a whole. I mean,
yeah,
life is extremely fragile.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, they were both sick, but even them being sick and kind of like not expecting them to pass away, but knowing in the back of my head that that was always a possibility. That always like, I kept that in my mind growing up, but like I like admittedly had a really bad relationship with my mom. Like I disrespected her, like the typical kid stuff, but like being a kid, when it happened, I was only 16 when she passed away. Like I was still a kid when it happened. So like that's the one thing, if I could go back and like change something, it would be my relationship with my mom, just because like I was so disrespectful towards her, didn't appreciate her. Like I said, it's the typical kid, like, shut up, I'm going to my room, whatever. But just like I said, knowing what I know now, it doesn't seem like typical kid stuff just because I only had 16 years with her. And so, like you said, life is so fragile. And I really just started like truly realizing that when Sammy passed away. And I will say the year between Sammy passing and my mom passing, our relationship was a lot better. Just because like you said, life is so fragile, and that helped me see that. But like you said, it's just kind of like appreciating the relationships more after you see, you know, how quickly you can completely lose a relationship like that. So,
I mean, that's unfortunately one of the truest things in life. The only things that are guaranteed in life are death and taxes.
Yeah.
It's, you can never prepare for a loss like that, even if you know it's coming. I mean, somebody can be sick your whole life, and when they're gone, I mean, they're gone. That's permanent. And that's
that's exactly how it was when mom passed away. Like I said, she was really sick most of her life, like hospital stays literally like a couple times a year. I don't remember the exact date she went on oxygen, but like I don't have a memory without her, you know, with her like oxygen tube, you know, just because her lungs were so bad. And so like I said, like you kind of expect it, that it can happen, but it's not like you're sitting there waiting on it to happen. You just kind of know that it's a possibility. And so like when it does happen, it's like, you know, I knew that this was like a possibility, but I, you know, really didn't expect it like this. And like you said, like even when you do expect it, because like I said, the past few days, it was literally just kind of like, you know, like a few people have like heard this the wrong way, but it was literally waiting on her to pass away. Like at that point, that's what we wanted to happen, just because she was in such bad condition that we knew that was literally the only option. So we were really just waiting on it for her sake to like be, you know, not to say to be in a better place, because sometimes I don't necessarily like that saying, but like in her case, her health was so bad that we were just waiting on her to not be suffering anymore. And so like even literally sitting there like expecting it and waiting on that to happen, when it actually happens, and like I mean like we literally watched her take her last breath. Like I personally watched it happen. Like I saw her stop breathing in the hospital room. And so like just seeing that happen, like you said, even when you expect it, like you can't prepare for that. And, like even losing Sammy the year before, because like, you know, he was my childhood like really good friend. Like we were best friends for like a span of a couple years, like hang out every day in the summer on the all-star team and this and that. But like we didn't go to the same high school, we didn't play baseball together anymore. And so like losing him was shock enough from someone that I didn't see on a regular basis anymore. So like while it helped prepare me for like a loss, when a year like so, you know, it helped me prepare for losing someone and like how to deal with it. But the year after, when you lose your mom who you live with and see every single day, and then you go home that night and she's not there, it's just like there's no preparing, you know, for that like feeling.
That's your parent, you know, that's an earth-shattering loss that is, you know, it's going to be there your whole life. And I think one of the biggest things with loss that a lot of people lose somebody every day. But when you think about people trying to comfort you or show you support, the, you know, whole, well, they're in a better place, or I'm praying for you. It seems so shallow at the time because it seems like you're being dismissive of what that person is going through. What was that like for you? You were a teenager. You got, you know, probably an outpouring of support from people. How did you take all that in?
It was weird because with Sammy, we were the ones doing the supporting, because you know his parents are some of my favorite people ever. Like literally from my first ever T-ball game, like his parents, like my family had a close relationship with them. Not to say like they'd hang out and talk and stuff, but literally like if you saw them at the ball field, like they would like just make your day. Like they're the nicest people ever. So like for us, like I said, my group of friends that knew him, we were the ones like doing the supporting because like they needed it. Like they just lost their, you know, teenage kid that was a freshman in high school. So like at that point, that was a really weird situation for like me and my friends, because like we needed support, but at the same time we knew like we needed to support them. And like we were kind of like supporting each other. in that situation. But then the next year, when mom passed away, like it was, like you said, like the support it was insane. I was a junior in high school on the baseball team. So teachers, parents of other students, coaches, like all kinds of stuff, teammates were just like reaching out with dinner, gift cards, text, phone calls, like all kinds of stuff. And like, as nice as it is, like it's so overwhelming because you're literally like, I'm sitting there with a whole box full of stuff, and like it's nice of them to do it. The stuff in the box is helpful, like food, snacks, and stuff. But like it kind of makes you remember like why you're getting it, which again, like there's nothing wrong with that at all. But at the same time, it's just like overwhelming to take it all in because like it all happens so fast when you're dealing with it. You're getting all that support at once, and like I said, like it's so helpful. But one of the like biggest things like I learned / like heard when mom passed away was like you're gonna notice the people that will like be there for you like this week and next week, and then you won't hear from them. And you're gonna notice the ones who will literally check up on you every week, at least every month for pretty much the rest of your life. And so like about a month after mom had passed away, because like she passed away in November, so like right before the holidays, like that was super tough. So like we had a ton of support like through the holidays. So I would say for about 2 months the support was like crazy. But then really, I'd say about after the new year, it kind of like faded away, which isn't like the worst thing because there comes a point where you kind of want it to like dial down some. But it was really overwhelming. Not necessarily in a bad way, but just so much support. And then again, when dad passed away, it was that times like 5 because like everyone knew it had already happened to me once. And now that it was my second parent, like they're both gone, like the support was just like insane when dad passed away. And it was really the same thing there. Like it was November 27th. So I'd say for about a month through the holidays, the support was crazy. And then again, it dialed down some. I'd say right after the new year, right after the holidays. But it was a lot. Like both times my parents passed away, it was a lot to take in. Like I said, all the meals, snacks, food, gift cards. Like I had so much gift card because I was driving from Flowery Branch to Snellville in Georgia, which is like a 45-minute drive just to high school. It's like I was waking up at like 5:30 to get ready and get there by 6:50ish by 7. And so like I was doing that just for high school, and like they knew that. So like I got all kinds of like QT, Shell, Chevron gift cards. And I got called in by the counselor one day, and she was like, "Hey, how are you on gift cards?" And like I personally like I'll tell you, like I hated all the support just because like it felt like attention when it wasn't attention, it was just support. But like I hate attention. It's like me being me. I was like, I don't like this. And so she called me in and she was like, "How are you on gift cards?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm good. Like it's fine." And she was like, "Well, no, we called your brother." I think it's how it went. Like she contacted my brother or sister or something, and like they knew I was low on gift cards. And she was like, "No, so here's another $100 for like gas." And I'm just like they were so supportive and like, just giving me like literally gas gift cards. So like my entire like senior year after dad passing away, like I didn't pay for gas to drive to school just because like they were so supportive. So like I said, like it was overwhelming, but at the same time, like so helpful. And like I went to Brookwood, which is literally the second biggest high school in Georgia. Like I graduated with like 950 kids. And so like just having like so many people and like, word spreads so fast. And so like pretty much, like I said, like I hated the like attention, even though it wasn't attention, but like everyone knew like what I was dealing with. It's like literally like students and classmates that I never had even talked to before were, reaching out, whether it was a text or like a gift card, anything. Like there was so much support, which was good and also overwhelming at the same time. But then that honestly kind of hit me after high school. When I went into my first year of college, when I just kind of started realizing like these people don't know me or what I've been through, and it's just kind of like when it's happening and like that's all the support you're getting, it kind of feels like not a good thing, but in terms of just kind of like you feel like you kind of have some slack, like emotionally. Like I could have a bad day at high school, like literally like not talk, not want to do my work, and like everyone would understand. But like there gets to a point where like if someone doesn't know you're dealing with that, like it's kind of like, tough luck. Like, you have to deal with it. But like when someone knows you're dealing with, like, they're gonna cut you some slack. But like after high school, going into college, I was kind of tough, realizing that like nobody here knows what I'm going through yet. Like, I'll make some friends and like I'm sure they'll learn about it, but that was kind of a tough transition for me. After all the support kind of died down, and then I realized not everyone knows what I'm going through because like I was a kid, so.
And you said it was a tough transition for you moving into college. I mean, how long did it take you to kind of adjust? I mean, going into college, it's a new normal for somebody who hasn't been through what you had been. And you said nobody knew what you were going through. What was the acclimation process like with that? I mean, you're going to have bad days. You're human. You're not superhuman, and you're still grieving. So what was that process like?
It was honestly just kind of like I said, it's just kind of like tough luck, like get over it kind of thing. Because like that's kind of the only option you really have. I mean, like my other option could have been like shut down and not do your work, kind of like fail out of your classes, whatever. Like I remember freshman year of college, so like fall of 2018, because I graduated 2018 and then went to college in the fall. And it's like I live with my brother here, and like I commute to school. It's like 15 minutes, so like it's not a complete like college like experience, so to speak. So like, I can go to class and come home, and life feels as normal as it has been like over the summer or whatever. But in terms of like being on campus and in class, there were days where I was just like, I do not want to go today. Like I remember there was a specific day. It was a Tuesday because I had most classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and one class on Tuesday. But it was the 2-year anniversary of my mom passing away, and like I just did not want to be there. But I went to class, and like I think we watched a movie that day, and I literally didn't even look up from like my desk. And like I emailed my professor afterwards, and I was like, I'm sorry, like I just was out of it today. Like I explained to her like the date and what was going on. And she was like so supportive and like super like, appreciative that I told her, and like obviously said like, don't worry about it. Like I wasn't like honestly she probably didn't even notice that I was checked out of it. But, I'm one that like I like to let my professors know like, hey, this assignment was late, or hey, I have a question here. Like I like to like build a relationship with them, just because like it's just a better experience overall. And so, like I just felt like I needed to like shoot her an email. It's like, hey, like I'm sorry, like I was just out of it today. And like once she knew that, like she was completely like fine with it. And then it happened a few more times that semester where like I literally woke up and I was like, I just can't do this today. Like today is just not the day. Like there were a few times I just stayed in bed, and like I emailed my professors like I won't be in class today. Pretty much I just said, here's why, like I'm just out of it. Like I'm just not like there today. Like I'm just not in the mood, and everything. I don't think there was one time where they like, even questioned it. They were just pretty, because, college professors are chill anyway. So I probably, most of them you can say like, hey, I'm not coming. And they're like, okay. But like I said, I like to build a relationship with them. So like, just telling them, hey, I'm not there today. Like I can't do this. Most of them are so chill about it. But when it's like I go to UNG Gainesville, it's not even the main UNG campus. So like it's smaller, and being like everyone there commutes. So like there's not like a ton of opportunity to make friends. Like I have my girlfriend and my family, and then my friends that like I already have. So like I'm not really in a spot where like I want to make friends, so to speak. But like it was tough the first year when I was there, because like all my close friends are off playing baseball somewhere, and I'm just going to school. And so like that was really tough on me, because my girlfriend's a year younger, so she was still in high school. All my friends are off playing baseball somewhere. So it was literally just me at this new campus without a single friend on campus. So like that part was tough. Like literally not having anyone like not like I could text them, but having anyone like personally, like physically to talk to, like just eat lunch with, whatever, like that part was really tough, honestly.
So throughout all of that, the loss, the adjustments, graduating high school, going into college, you still found it in you to create a nonprofit organization. Tell me about November Smiles.
Yeah, so it's actually started that fall, that freshman year of college. So like I'm dealing with all that, and it's just like basically like long like this could go on for hours, but long story short, I had won an award, a couple awards at the end of high school for like character and positivity and stuff. and it was linked to this foundation called the P4 Foundation, and they help childhood cancer. And like we got to know their story, and it was a kid who played high school baseball. He was diagnosed with cancer and had to stop. And so, I won a few awards through their foundation just for my positivity. And we built a good relationship with them. And they always told me, like, you need to, keep this in mind. Like, you can do something like with what you've been through, like you can turn it into something. It's like that was always in the back of my mind for, 5-6 months. I didn't know what that something would be exactly. And then me and my brother were watching the Little League World Series one day, and we came across this kid who they put it up on the screen, and he was talking about how his dad had passed away, and he wished that his dad could be there coaching him and cheering for him because he was in the Little League, or he was one step away from Williamsport. Like he was about to go to the Little League World Series. And I was like, I can imagine that kid because like my senior year, we went to the Final Four of the state playoffs. And like all I could think about is like we might go to the state championship, and like my parents, especially my dad, because like he was a sports guy, like they're not here to see it. And so like that really hit me when I saw this like 11, 12-year-old kid on ESPN opening up about how to have his dad. And so I Googled his name to try to find some way to reach out to him. And I ended up on his mom's Facebook page. So I sent her like a long message explaining who I am, what I had been through so far, and just saying like, I want to connect with you. And I found out he has an older brother too. So I was like, I want to connect with you and your two boys, like, because we know we can help y'all out. And so we were just like, they were talking about it, thinking of what we can say to them, how we can, call them, FaceTime them, whatever. And then we just kind of had the idea, like, we could do something more than just, offer them, hey, we're here for you. Because like we talked about earlier, like, it'll be there for a few weeks, but you'll really learn who's actually there for you. Mm-hmm. And it's like we wanted to show these, like, random, complete strangers. They live in Massachusetts. It's like we wanted to show them, like, anybody can care. If they're, like, if you care and it's real enough, like, you're going to show that. And so we were like, we really do want to, like, show them that they have support. And so we found out more about them. We found out that they're big Yankees fans. And so we just started brainstorming ideas, and we end up with this massive care package for them. It included Yankees hoodies, T-shirts, baseball cards, stuff like that. And then they were about to play the Athletics in the wild card game that year. And so we bought the tickets, the three of them, to go to the wild card game at Yankee Stadium against the A's. It sold out. And we made sure they could go, and we bought them tickets, and we did that. And then through the White Sox connection that I'm sure we'll talk about, my brother was messaging back and forth with White Sox people. And long story short, we ended up getting in contact with the Yankees, and we got signed bats from Aaron Judge and Gleyber Torres, and we got to give them in the care package to the kids too. And so we were able to do that for them. We made the mom video of them opening the care package, and the kids were crying. The mom was crying. Like, it was just the coolest thing ever. To like they realized, like, for us to realize how much it means to them. Like, it was the coolest thing ever. And so we were like, so how do we turn this into doing it for every kid that loses a parent? Like, any story that we come across. And so my brother was like, well, because that was all out of pocket. Like, we just did that ourselves. And so my brother was like, we need to we need a way to bring in money to fund that, because we can't, spend altogether between the two of us. We spent like almost $1,500 total. And so obviously we were like, we can't do that for every family we come across. Like, we'll go broke. And so he was like, we need to find out a way to bring in donations, and, we can do it. We just got to figure it out. And so we thought of November Smiles, which those 3 losses all happened in November, and we want to make them smile. So it's really just simple as that, November Smiles. And it's just that we're a nonprofit 501c3 organization, and we help kids through the process of losing a parent. And we do just what I explained, but for each unique situation. So like, we find out the situation, the kid, if they have siblings, the parent situation, and then we find out more about them, what they like, what they're into, what they want to do. And it's like a few things we've done. Just for example, like, there's a kid, he wants to be a marine biologist. I spent the day with him at the Georgia Aquarium. So that was like really cool. There's a little family who there's 2 little boys. At the time, they were like 6 and 3. and they love baseball. We took them to a Braves game when the White Sox were in town, which I can talk about more when we talk more about the White Sox. And he also wants to be a pilot, and so we got connected with a Delta pilot and did a flight simulator at the Atlanta airport. And that's one of the coolest things I've ever done. Like, we were in a Delta flight simulator. Like, it was so cool. It's like, for a 6-year-old that wants to be a pilot, like, I'm sure like it was like the coolest thing ever for him. And so like we do stuff like that based on the kid. We literally just figure out how we can make them smile. Like, it's really as simple as that. And like, our goal is to grow as big as we can so we can do more and more on maybe like a bigger scale. Like, our goal, like, one day we'd love to be like Make-A-Wish, but for kids parent. Like, that's really like the big goal that we have.
I love that so much. And I love what you guys do. I mean, so I was looking through the November Smiles website, and this is something you and I talked about, but I'd like you to explain it to the people who are listening. You have something called the 11-word impact.
Mm-hmm.
Explain to me what that is.
So it's actually something my brother actually thought of it, and then we kind of, came together into what exactly we want to turn it into. So really it's just as simple as, hey, come up with 11 words that explain what you're thinking, whether it's about, the loss, whether it's about your parents, whether it's about like your everyday thing. Just come up with 11 words, 11 for November, that 11 words that just explain. So like, I have right here a few of them. It's like, mine is, the time I spent with my parents will never be forgotten. So like, that one was like simple, but meaningful. It's really just as simple as that. Like, the time I spent with my parents will never be forgotten. And that came to me like ASAP. Like, I literally thought of that sentence and it was 11 words like that. It just came to me like that. And so we started asking around our families, parents of the kids we've helped, the kids that we've helped, and a few that some have come up with. Although we are not together anymore, we will never be apart. That's the older brother from the Yankees family. And then his little brother, this one might be my favorite one. He said, I lost my dad, my coach, and my very best friend. And so like, it sounds like 3, but it's all the same person, And so that one, and I think he's 13, 14 now, but at the time he's like 11 or so when he lost his dad. So like, for him to come up with that is just like, that kid's so strong, And then the last one I wanted to share was, I know now he's got the best seat in the house. And that comes from one he's very religious. Mm-hmm. And so like, he connected it with that. And so like, there's so many ways you can go with it. Mm-hmm. Like Cam said, I lost my dad, my coach, and my best friend, so like that was his way of doing it. Like, that's what he lost. I put it as, the time I spent with my parents will never be forgotten. So it's more of like a positive way, It's like, it's just 11 words that explain how you feel about the situation, really. And I think it's just it's the simplest thing ever, but it's so deep also at the same time. Like, I think it's really cool.
And I love it because the examples you read to us, I mean, yours had more of a positive take on it, but you have the others who it's dependent on how the person grieves, and every single person grieves differently. We feel things differently. We grieve differently. So I love that. I think that's one of my favorite things that I found on your website. You keep mentioning the White Sox. Mm-hmm. And with that comes with positive outlets that you have to find when you're going through grief. So, break down what you kind of invested yourself into and dug deep into when you were grieving to help you kind of manage more.
So it really just comes from, like I said, it kind of comes from kind of like knowing that I really don't have another choice, because like, I feel like grief can be positive or negative. Like, you can, I feel like you can literally grieve by not being happy that someone passed away, obviously, but thinking of the happy moments surrounding it. Like when, I think about like when our mom passed away, she was like, her health was so bad and her oxygen levels were crazy. Like, she was in the hospital, kind of like throwing a party almost, like between the medicine she was on and just like the oxygen levels messing with her. Like, she was literally like in the best mood ever. And it's like, we know like our mom's about to pass away, but at the same time, it was like a party in like her hospital room. So like, I literally feel like it's just like how you want to like turn the grief, whether you want it to be a positive thing or a negative thing. And like we've talked about, like, I always try to keep mine positive. and me keeping everything positive and sticking out my senior year, wanting to play baseball. Because, like, I didn't even start on the team. Like, I was a backup left fielder. Like, I knew I wasn't going to play much. So, like, it was always in my mind to just quit and not deal with it. Just kind of go home, after school and be with my family and not be out there, not wasting my time, but just not dealing with it, knowing I wouldn't play when I had so much else on my mind. But I was like, I want to be positive. This is something that helps me out, in grieving. So I'm going to stick this out and play. That's what led to everything with the White Sox that we can talk about.
So it was June 6, 2018, right?
Yes. So
that's a day that's forever going to be in your mind. Yeah. I mean, it's like one of the best days of your life. Explain that day to us. Talk us through it.
So it was literally just a normal summer day. Like, I had graduated a week or two before. It was just a normal summer day. I was with my brother. We were just out running errands and stuff. And my coach from high school called me, and I was like, why is he calling me? Like, I graduated, season's over. Like, he has no reason to be calling me, really. And he called me. He was just like, hey, how's summer going? How's, you graduated. Like, how's that feel? This and that. Like, he was really just checking on me. And then he was just kind of like, hey, so I know this scout from the White Sox, and he wants you to give him a call. I even at that point, I just kind of felt like it was just like a conversation type thing, because we had a catcher go second round to the Marlins that year. It's like we had scouts at every single one of our games. And it's like earlier in the year, I had a Brewers scout come up to me and just say like, hey, my name is Steve. Like, I've heard your story, and like I just wanted you to know, like, it's stay positive, and like your story is awesome. And it's like I feel like it was just kind of like that, like hey, like I heard about you, and keep doing what you're doing. So I called him, and he was like, hey, Matt, my name's Kevin. I'm with the White Sox. How are you? And we just talked for like a second. And he's like, hey, so we're actually going to select you in the 38th round today. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not signed to play in college. Like, I didn't even play this year. Like, what are you talking about? And he was just like, I was around your story because he's the area scout for the White Sox. So he was at all kinds of our games in Georgia, like in the area. So he was like, I was around you all year. Like, I saw how positive you are. I saw I saw your story everywhere. Because like the local newspaper, the Gwinnett Daily Post, they did a couple articles about me. And so like that got around a little bit. Thanks to my high school coach. He pretty much set all that up. And so he was just like, we heard your story. It was actually that article that made it happen. He saw the article. It was just about me staying positive and playing despite everything going on. And he was like, so I saw that article and I sent it to our scouting director. And I said, hey, are you thinking what I'm thinking? And he said, yes. And so it turns out he had actually already seen the story. It's like they had both seen it separately, like coincidentally. And they just like kind of came together, and he was like, it's just a courtesy thing. Like, I knew I wasn't like signing to play or anything, but he was like, we wanted to do something special that, could hopefully, he literally said something, a little something special that could help you. And I'm like, you're drafting me. Like, that's not a little something, like literally like changed my life. Mm-hmm. And so the White Sox drafted me 38th round, 2018. And so like, it was nuts. And so like the picture there, we flew up there in August of 2018. They flew us up there, put us in a hotel, and then we got to go to the park. And I threw out the first pitch. I got to meet the entire team. And it was just like, it was the craziest experience ever. Like, it was probably the coolest thing I've ever done. Like, I was in the White Sox clubhouse, like before the game, literally just hanging out with the team, like talking to the team. Like, I had a full conversation with Tim Anderson. And now, like, he won the batting title last year. He's probably going to win it again this year. And, like, here I am. I'm just, like, a kid that had just graduated high school, and I'm in the clubhouse just talking to him. I talked to Jose Abreu through a translator, which was, like, the coolest thing ever. Like, literally, like, he was in the locker room, and it was, like, him and Yohan Moncada, and they were, like, speaking Spanish. And I had a baseball, and they all wanted to sign it for me. And so, like, I went over to their corner, and the translator was like, you want to talk to him? And I was like, yeah. And like, I'm talking to Jose Abreu through his translator. And like, that was so cool. And he's probably about to win MVP in the AL, hopefully. Mm-hmm. And so, like, literally, like, I'm in this White Sox clubhouse, and they literally were just treating me like one of them, like having full conversations. Tim Anderson, Alabama fan. So he's giving me crap about them beating Georgia. Daniel Palka was still with him at the time, and he's a Tech guy, so he's talking crap about Georgia Tech and Georgia. Like they were literally just treating me like one of them, and like it was just the coolest thing ever. Like it was just for them to just take us in. It's like it was me, my brother, my sister, and the scout. And then being like the White Sox clubhouse, like me and my brother just went in there. Like my sister kind of like stayed out because like who knows what you're gonna see in a clubhouse.
Yeah.
So, we went back there, and like for them to just treat us like that, like literally treat us like one of them for the day, like it makes you realize they're really just normal guys. They're really just dudes that play a game, but they make a lot of money to do it, and like they all have such a big heart. And like for them to do that for me when they really did not have to, like they could have used that pick on someone who actually. Not many picks that late, end up panning out. But like Mark Burley was the 38th round pick for the White Sox. Mm-hmm. And so it's like for them to use a pick, any pick could end up being anybody. And so for them to use that on me and, like change my life when, they really did, they didn't have to whatsoever. It's just like, it's just obviously something I'll never forget, but it's something that I'll always think about in terms of if they did that for me, like, you can always do something to help someone out, no matter how big or small, that might be.
I think that speaks worlds on their organization too. I mean, that's big time. Right. Even if, it was an honorary signing essentially, but that's a moment that you're going to tell your kids and your grandkids, and then they're going to carry that story on forever.
Yeah. I have so many nieces and nephews. Like my sister has 6 kids, and like they'll literally go around saying like my uncle was on the White Sox. My brother has 2 kids. His older one plays t-ball, and like I coached them for a couple seasons last year. And like he would literally say like, "Hey, he's on the White Sox," and I'm like, "Well, I'm kind of on the White Sox," but like literally like that's something that's just like, especially for them, like they saw it as like the coolest thing ever because they can say like, "Hey, like my uncle's on the White Sox." Like you said, like for them to do that, it speaks, like you said, it speaks volumes, like just on them as an organization. Just for them to even think about doing it, like they could have said, like, hey, we want to bring you up or whatever, for the day, but to draft me, like use that pick, like it says a lot about them, and it says a lot about the scout who wanted to make that happen. And like we still talk all the time. His name's Kevin Burrell. He's still a scout for them. I'm really hoping that all of this, layoffs and stuff, like I really hope he's not affected by any of it, just because he's like the nicest person ever. Our trip to Chicago, he made sure to go up there the same weekend as us, and like he's just, for him to set everything up, it's still insane to me to this day that they pulled all that off for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. All the layoffs going on, I mean, that's heartbreaking. I mean, one of our good friends was affected by that. Speaking of the Braves organization, one of the pictures you sent me was you meeting Freddie Freeman. I need you to tell me how that happened, because that's my favorite baseball player right now.
So again, a guy who should win MVP. We'll see if it happens, but it just kind of like happened. My brother was in Tennessee. He's a State Farm agent, so he was in Tennessee for something, and he was like, his phone rang, and he was like, he didn't really know like what it was. And then I want to say they left a voicemail or something, and like he saw that it was the Braves. I want to say that's how it went down. It might have even been he realized like right away it was the Braves, but he literally like stepped out of like the big like conference like meeting he was in because like he knew like the Braves were calling, whether it was like after the fact or he knew initially that it was them, and they like got a hold of him and they were like, hey, like this was a few weeks after the draft, but before I had gone to Chicago. It's like this happened before I went to Chicago. They called him and they were like, hey, we saw his story. We saw Matt's story. And like Freddie Freeman wants to meet him. Because Freddie lost his mom when he was a kid, like a young kid, younger than me, younger than when I lost mine. He lost his. And so like that was big to me even before I had lost parents. Like every year on Mother's Day, like they always talked about it. He'd always do cleats, bats, something special for his mom. It's like that always stuck out to me even before all of that. And so like once that happened, it became even more like, Freddie's my guy. Like now I know exactly what that's like. Mm-hmm. Honestly, part of the reason I played my senior year of baseball, even though, like I said, I didn't really have to. I was like, Freddie's in the majors. He dealt with all that. Like I can stick it out and play this year. And just so it went down like that, really. They pretty much called him and said, Freddie Freeman wants to meet your brother. And so, like, my brother was like, well, yeah, let's do it. And so we set it up. We went down there when the Orioles were in town. We went and on the field before the game, and he just comes out all 6'5", 6'6", with Freddie Freeman, just comes out of the dugout before it was right after Braves BP. They come out on the field, or Freddie comes out on the field and just starts talking to me like anything else. He's signing, we had some stuff, like I had a Freddie bobblehead ball and stuff. It's like he's signing stuff for us, because like at the end of the day, we're fans, like I watch the game, like we're just fans, but at the same time, like he wanted to meet me on like a friendly, personal level. It's like he's signing stuff for all of us, but at the same time, like having a conversation with me, asking more about my story, asking, how exactly it happened. Like, oh, so you lost your mom, you lost your mom here, lost your dad here, and like literally like learning about me, getting to know me. And then he was like, I wanted to give you this, and it's his, I have it right there. It's the bat. It says, always remember the good times and stay strong. And he wrote Go Braves and Go White Sox. And he was messing with me. He was like, I didn't want to write White Sox, but I did write that for you. And like, he's like, everyone knows how like good of a person Freddie is, but to meet him like that, like you have no idea like how nice of a person Freddie Freeman is. Like he was so nice. Just a smile on his face, just to talk to us. Like it was insane to meet him, and just for him to take the 10 minutes just to come talk to us. And then really, I could even go off and say like we were standing there talking to him, and I was standing there, with Mark Bowman, Kevin McAlpin, like they were all like interviewing me about like what had happened. The Braves like were taking video, like on their Twitter, there's a video of like that happening. And then like all that's happening, and I felt a hand on my shoulder, and I look over, and it was Dansby. And Dansby was like, I just wanted to come out and give you a hug. Like I heard your story, and like literally Dansby Swanson just wanted to come give me a hug, and we started talking, because he's from Marietta, and so he's like, you went to Brookwood, like I know your story, like I heard about your story. You're a local kid, like we were just talking, literally just talking normal. Like he was talking about how he was like, yeah, I don't live here in the off season. I stay up in Nashville. Like this, like he's just talking to me like he doesn't have a freaking baseball game to go play, And it was just the coolest thing. And then Snit came out. My brother actually graduated with Snit's daughter, I want to say. And so like Snit knows all about the high school I went to. The neighborhood that Snit at least lived in, maybe still lives in, was right next to where I lived growing up. And so like at the time we knew like there's a Stripers Gwinnett Braves coach at the time that was in there. And then turns out he ends up becoming the Braves coach, like eventually, Braves manager. And so he comes out to talk to me. He's like, hey, you went to Brookwood, heard your story. He actually was like, I just got done babysitting for my grandkids in the Brookwood district. It's like the day of a game, Brian Snicker was babysitting his grandkids before a baseball game. And it's like, again, it just goes to show like all those people are human, and they really they either play a game or coach a game just for a lot more money than most people make. And it just really shows like they're just human and want to, be there for people and help people out if they can. Because like they have such a big platform, and like they're so busy that, like I said, for Freddie to use that time to specifically want to meet me, and then for Dansby to use his 5 minutes, for Snit to come talk to me, like they have stuff they could be doing, but they took the time to come talk to me 5, 10, 15 minutes. And for them, like Freddie's quiet on social media, but I can still message Dansby right now when he'll respond just because he remembers me. And so just for him to remember me, like it just says so much. Like they're so busy, not necessarily this year, but in a normal year, they're on the road so much. They have so much going on. And for him to just remember me and literally like I can message him, like, I'll message him Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday, whatever, and he'll respond to me. And like just for him to do that is just like, it's just like you really can't put into words because like people idolize them so much. And I think rightfully so, because they to me, sports provide such an emotional, thing. So, I feel because like there's people out there that say we shouldn't like idolize athletes, but personally, like athletes are such a huge part of my life that I feel like, rightfully they're so idolized and looked up to. But, for them to still, through all that, take that time to do that for me and Dansby's case, still talk to me, like it's just like the coolest thing. Lucas Giolito is another one. I was able to message him because in Chicago, he caught my first pitch. And then he was literally statistically the worst pitcher in baseball that year, 2018. 2019, he's an all-star.
He just threw a no-hitter.
Right. And so he's a Cy Young candidate last year, throws a no-hitter this year. And, you know, he'll message me back. And so, like, just for them to remember that. Like, so Giolito caught my first pitch in Chicago, like I said, when he was a nobody at that time. Like, and that's not even being mean. Like, he was a nobody. And then the next year, he's a Cy Young candidate. And the Braves come to Atlanta when we took the family there. When we took that family to the game, we got White Sox BP access to go watch them on the field. And they were in Atlanta, so the pitchers had to hit that series. So Giolito had a bat in his hands. He's like, I guess I have to learn how to hit. And he comes up to us, and he's like, oh, hey, guys. And he literally starts talking to me. He's like, hey, so how's everything going? You know, how's your family? You know, how have you been since Chicago? Like, just completely remembered me. Like, just picked up conversation like it was a year, because it was both of those games were in August. So, like, a year apart, remembered catching my first pitch, talking to me. Like, it's just a lot of people, like, tend to think that those dudes are, like, not great people just because of how busy they are. But for me to, like, experience all that and really, like, get to know a few of them, like, it's just so crazy for them to do all that and take the time to just really, like, try to connect with somebody with the platform that they have, which, I mean, is what I'm trying to use my whatever platform I have to do the same. And so for them to have the platform they have and to do it is just so – it means a lot, really.
And you hear so many people that say athletes just need to stay in their own lane, that, you know, they're athletes. Do your job, play baseball, play football, basketball, whatever. And
right.
People fail to realize that sports are a big part of life for some people. For you, it's a way that you coped. For me, it was a way that I coped growing up. I mean, it's so much more than just a sport, and there's so much more than just athletes. They're human beings. And, you know, just listening to you right there, you humanized them. And I think that's so important.
Yeah. I mean,
so
if Freddie was to just stay on the field, or if Dansby was to just stay on the field, like, I never would have met them. I would never have that story. I would never have, you know, the connection. The day that we went to the Braves game, I actually messaged Dansby, and he was going to come out and meet the family that we were bringing, which would have been awesome. But we got to the stadium, found out that we only had White Sox BP access and not Braves. And so, like, I messaged him, and I was like, hey, like, is there any way you could come back out? And while he's in the clubhouse, like, doing what he has to do, he messages me back, and he's like, hey, like, I'm so sorry. I have meetings, and I have this and this. But he took the time to tell me I can't do that. Like, he did not have to respond. Like, he had meetings and stuff to review before the game, and he still took the time to tell me, like, hey, I can't make it out there. And, like, just for him to even stay, like, hey, I'm sorry, I can't make it. Like I said, he had a game to play in, like, an hour, and he's on his phone. You know, he noticed the message and told me, hey, I can't make it. And like you said, just for them to, like, to not just play the game or just stay on the field, like, it just means so. Because if the White Sox were to just stay on the field and stay professional, like, they would have never done that for me. And so, you know, I just, like you said, people really need to realize that they are human. And as busy as it really comes down to them being busy, like, every single one of them has a platform that they want to use. And it just comes down to so much that we don't see. You know, like, no one out there knows that I can message Dansby right now and he can respond to me, and it means the world to me and probably not that much to him. And so, you know, people need to realize that those dudes are human and they do want to, you know, help anything that they can. They're just so busy that oftentimes they can't, you know.
Absolutely. So one of the last questions I like to ask people, hopefully this podcast reaches some people that need to hear it. That's the whole goal of this, to share stories and help people heal along the way. So anybody that's silently struggling or grieving out there, what is one thing that you would like that person to hear?
I think it's really to just know that you're not alone. Like, you are not the only person that's happening to, because, like, when it is happening to you, that's how it feels. Like, you feel like you are literally the only person in the world that's dealing with it. And, like, that is not the case whatsoever. You know, like, I learned that quick. Like I talked about earlier, when Sammy passed away, it was just kind of like, you know, initially I felt like why did my old friend just pass away? But then get to school the next day, and I remember like this guy played with him and this guy played with him, and I'm like, we're not alone. Like, we can be together in this. And then, again, with my parents, I felt like I was the only kid who I'm in high school having lost both parents, but then like I've been able to connect with other kids who have dealt with the same. Like, I'm actually actively trying to work with this a kid, long story, but he goes to high school here in Georgia, and he just lost both of his parents within like a week span to COVID. And he's a senior in high school. And so like he lost both parents within a week during the whole pandemic that we're all dealing with. And so like that's like his GoFundMe has a ton of money. He's gotten a ton of news coverage. But at the same time, I talked to his football coach, and he said it's extremely overwhelming. He doesn't want any of the attention, just the same exact boat I was in. He is considering quitting his senior football season, same exact thing I did with baseball. And so it's just really letting people know that they are not alone. And, like I said, for that situation to pop up, it's like identical almost to mine. He lost his parents a lot quicker and a lot more like sudden than I did. But for him to lose both of them in a short span, he doesn't want all the attention. He doesn't want to play his senior season. Like, that's everything I dealt with. And so it's really just letting these kids know, but in normal, like, in the normal everyday case, just letting any other person know that they're not by themselves dealing with any of this. It's not the entire world crashing down on you. It feels that way. And there are going to be days where it feels like it's crashing down harder than other days. And it's fine for that to happen, for it to feel that way. But it's really just, having those days sprinkled in is fine. But it's knowing that you're not the only one that those days are happening to. And to not even necessarily, because people like to say, you need to reach out and get help. But it's not even, in my opinion, it's not even necessarily reaching out to others, but it's understanding that when someone reaches out to you, that you need to kind of accept it and let it happen. Like, so many times somebody would reach out and I just kind of be like, it's just another, hey, I'm sorry for your loss, whatever. But even the smallest thing, can help in that sense, just having that connection, especially when somebody can relate. And so that's why we build a relationship with the kids that we help and the families that we help, because like we know exactly what they're dealing with. And so it's just kind of like, for them to know that, hey, I lost both of my parents while I was in high school. You can get through your situation just like I've gotten through mine so far. And it's just really building that relationship to let them know that, like, like I said, you're not the only person it's happening to, no matter how much it might feel that way.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you so much for coming on and, chatting with me for the past hour. I've really enjoyed it. Can you tell us where we can find you on social media? People who listen to this?
So personally, my Twitter and Instagram are at MattKlug33. And then if you wanted to reach out to me, just message me on there or email me at matt@novembersmiles.org. And then social media for November Smiles, Twitter and Instagram is at NOVSmiles. And then our website, novembersmiles.org. You can message us on any social media, find our contacts on our website, email us. Our donate page is on there. Anything you want to find could be on our website. So yeah.
Awesome. And everybody listening, make sure you go to backhomemedia.com to check out the other podcasts that we have going on. We have Growing Garden City, the Sprout and Dusty Show, and the Free Zone with Norm, the Parentless Podcast, Easy Out Podcast, Ether Podcast, Kansas Missing and Unsolved. I think I might have missed something in there. And, just thanks for listening. Make sure you follow Something's Wrong on Instagram and Twitter at somethings_WRNG. We are on Facebook at Something's Wrong. You can just search it. And you guys can follow me personally at its_Erin Alexis. And until next week, there you have it.
Well. I don't think it, I thought it, that's different. I said what I said and I meant it, or lamented. Words given weight without thought in a person, the way that I talk and the way that I ought to be able to pause and to say that the fault can be placed on my arms. To this playful assault, to disgrace in its arm. Pray for the day they could wait for the calm. You can't control the storm, only weather it, whether it's 5 weeks and 5 days of rain sideways, or scorched earth, search for death or water, left with all the thorns, with the petals gone, settle on the breath of autumn. If the ground fits, wear it, the crown fits.